I'm so glad to be here. This is something our dream for a long time for all our sector players, how sanitation to be addressed and then regulate. Honorable Chief Guest Mahendra Rai Yadav, Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation, Honorable Chair of this program, Secretary Mr. Ram Sai Yadav, my colleague Ivan Mai from Waterlink, and all colleagues from different parts of the world. So it's really, really great to see you all from the Africa, from Southeast Asia. So we'll have very good discussion in this next couple of next two days, and we'll come up with some good solution about the regulatory mechanism, how to set up and how it's going on in a couple of countries. And you know, this is something like when you look at the 10 years back where we were. So we actually never talk about this kind of regulation. I think even we never talk about the policy which actually need for the on-site sanitation, because our focus was we always consider sewer is a gold standard, and pit latrine and septic tanks all are for non-sewer sanitation, especially for the poor. And we never talk about the other approaches, how we really address sanitation. So we all running behind the basic sanitation, access to the toilet. And after 10 years, just before the Sustainable Development Goal era, that time Millennium Development Goal, when SDG comes in, then the entire scenario has been changed. Then we talk about safety, we talk about inclusivity, equity, all those issues we talk about. And of course, without that, we can't really improve the environment, we can't improve the health, we can't improve the pollution, what now we are seeing in the river. And that's why we need to go with different approaches. And Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, we are working in this sector since last a little bit more than decades. Our target was also first to address the septic tank things or sludge things, that what is coming out, because non-sewer sanitation is the main actually system that most of developing countries were adopting. And where, we never discuss about that, how sludge to be treated, how to be used, that how can be safely managed. And fecal sludge management was one of the major interventions from our side, and it really internalized by many, many countries. And after that, we are also working a lot on the technology, because technology is another area where, because of lack of technology, we are not really able to move for the non-sewer sanitation. Then we talk about a reinventing toilet, so many different types of technology that already now coming to the world very soon. And at the same time, we are working on a standard, because there was a lot of standards we're talking about we never talk about, because in the past we talk about WHO standard, and WHO standard is not a standard, it's a guideline, but it has a lot of limitations over there. Like we talk about now ISO 30500, we talk about ISO 31800, we talk about ISO 21400. All those standards are linked to the non-sewer sanitation, new technologies, safely managed sanitation services. So now, when we talk about, we have a lot of things. We have a fecal sludge management moving forward. You can see India, you will be surprised that in 2016, there was only one fecal sludge treatment plant exists in India. Now they have more than 1,000 treatment plants are operating in India alone. Similarly, in Nepal, Bangladesh, many other countries also, fecal sludge treatment plants were really increased. But all these we think that when the treatment plants are there, then FSM solved. And that's not true, because there are a lot of other components are there. Because when we need to address non-sewer sanitation, means that is the option to really reaching to the Millennium Development Goal. That means when you talk about sanitation, non-sewer sanitation, there are a lot of things need to be addressed. We need to think about containment, we need to think about the collection, we need to think about treatment, then reuse. If you see the all service chain, then you need to have a lot of service standard for the septic tank, standard for the operating system, standard for treatment plant, standard for reuse. And all those things are not really considered in the past. And then we come up with a citywide inclusive sanitation to address everything. How can we address that? Citywide inclusive sanitation will discuss about the function, because we talk a lot about the outcomes. We want to reach to the equity, we want to reach the poor, we want to reach to the safety, we want to reach to the sustainability. But to reach that outcome without having function in place means without having institutional system in place, we can't really reach that goal. At the same time, when you talk about institutions, then who is going to regulate that? That's why we talk about regulatory authority is very, very much important if you really want to successful for implementation of standard, for implementation of servicing for the poor, then regulatory system is very much critical. And then we work with the SOS, even here, Zola from the Navasco. We work a lot in South Africa, in Africa, especially in the South and Eastern Africa. And we learn a lot about this regulatory system that what needs to be done. And we discussed that why don't we also bring this agenda to Asia? Because South Asia, although we are working a lot, we are progressing a lot, but the regulatory system is not really strongly established. Of course, in Southeast Asia, our colleague Malaysia is there. They did a lot of those things. Malaysia, Philippines also progressing a lot. But still, in South Asia, we are very much in this process. I would say we are very much lagging behind. Because of that, we now started this issue. If we really address regulatory mechanism, what we believe that when we talk about the sanitation is human right, then who is going to really address that? We need to have regulatory body who will really help to reach that goal. When you talk about the ensuring services to the poor, who is going to look at? Regulatory body need to work on that as well. Similarly, if you talk about the environment, sustainable manner of treatment of the services or treatment system properly implement standard, again, we need to have regulatory system in place. Similarly, we need to bring the voices from the poor. Who is going to listen to the voice of poor? Where to go and talk about this? Either they are receiving services or not. They can go to the regulatory body and talk about their service standard, how much they are really receiving. And at the same time, of course, this is, when we talk about citywide inclusive sanitation, this is we consider this as a public services. Government is in charge for that. But at the same time, government alone cannot do that because we need the private sector. Then who is going to develop performance indicators so that private sector also will provide service properly? Again, we need to talk about it, and we need, again, a regulator. That's why we are working here to address this, and we are very, very happy that we are working with the government of Nepal, government of Bangladesh, government of Odisha, India, and many other states in India as well to address this regulatory system, and it's really moving very much nicely. I know that a couple of the places like in Nepal, for example, you already have drafted the regulatory regulation. I think is already drafted, just need to be approved. You just approve the policy for sanitation. That's a really big momentum going on in Nepal. Similarly, in Bangladesh, they even have a kind of the action plan that in this year they need to establish regulatory authority in Bangladesh. India is even going much more further, and a lot of things moving out there as well. So now this kind of learning, how can we learn cross-learning within South Asian countries? At the same time, we are very glad that we are also learning from the Africa. So this conference itself is very much unique because we always expect international delegates like they are from Western world, Europe, United States, or this country. But this is not like that. You can see developing countries, global South are coming together. Experts like even we will talking about the regulatory system, what they really established in 7, 8 countries in Africa, right? Similarly, we have colleague from other colleague from Kenya, for example. They will talking about this thing. So this kind of the Africa and Asia, global South are learning each other. That kind of mechanism really will help to make things happen. You will see that it's not difficult. Sometimes we feel that, establishment of regulatory authorities make a lot of money. This is not true. Even we'll talk about how it is easy if there is a political commitment, if there is some strong leaders who really can drive. So I'm very much hopeful that this conference is going to be a unique one, and I'm quite hopeful that we'll achieve a lot of things, and we'll be there for entire several years working with you to make things happen in all these, at least in 3 countries. Beyond that, we have colleagues from Pakistan, we have colleagues from Bhutan, I'm sure from Indonesia. So I'm sure in future maybe we can have also a kind of regulatory association, the way how you have established in Africa, so that maybe we can have a South Asian regulatory association who will be working together and establish system throughout throughout the South Asia and maybe Southeast Asia. Thank you so much.
Talk of the Town.